Huzzah, folks, and welcome back to Daggerfall Unity. We're continuing on with the Real Baron Zaya, Part 4, and hopefully it won't be as saucy as the last book. Alright, before I start, where's my water? I actually want a sip of water because this energy drink's making me more thirsty. Okay. Baron Zaya fidgeted impatiently while Ferris sorted through the papers in the desk. He was being meticulous and methodical, careful to replace everything just as he'd found it. They'd entered a nobleman's house, leaving straw outside as lookout. Ferris had said it was a simple job, but very secret. He hadn't even wanted to bring any other guild members along. He said he knew and could trust Barry and Straw. "Tell me what you're looking for and I'll find it," Barry whispered. Ferris's night sight wasn't as good as hers, and he didn't want to make it light. Barry had never been in such a luxurious place. She gazed around with wonder as they made their way through the huge, echoing downstairs rooms, but Ferris didn't seem interested in anything but the desk in the small, book-lined study on the upper floor. "Sssss," he hissed angrily. "Someone's coming," Barry said. A moment before the door opened and the two dark figures appeared. Theris gave a violent shove towards them, Theris gave her a violent shove towards them and sprang away towards the window. Baron Zaya's muscles went rigid. She couldn't move or even speak, and she watched helplessly as the dark elf figure leaped after Theris. There were two quick, silent blue flares of light, then Theris folded in a still heap. Outside the study, the house had become alive with footsteps and voices calling in the clamor of armor and the clank of armor. Damn, I think Baron Zaya got paralyzed by Theris. What an asshole. The big man, a dark elf, half lifted, half dragged Theris to the door and thrust him into the waiting arms. A jerk of the elf's head sent his robed companion after him. The elf came over to inspect Baron Zaya, who was again able to move, although her head throbbed maddeningly when she did so. "Open your shirt, Baron Zaya," the elf said. Baron Zaya gaped at him, and clutched it closed. "You're a girl, aren't you, Barry?" he said softly. "You should have stopped dressing as a boy a few months ago, you know. You were only drawing attention to yourself and calling yourself Barry." It's true. I mean, she did have sex with Theris in the open in that fucking place, pretending to be a man. "Is your friend Straw too stupid to remember anything else?" "It's a common elf name," Baron Zaya defended herself. The man shook his head sadly. Not among dark elves it isn't, my dear. But you really don't know much about dark elves, do you?" "I regret that, but it couldn't be helped. No matter, I'll remedy it." "Who are you?" Baron Zaya demanded. "So much for fame," the man shrugged, smiling warily. "I'm Seamus, my lady, and it's a merry chase you've led me on. Although I'd guessed you'd head for Morrowind, but you had a bit of luck. A body was found in Whiterun that was thought to be Straw's, so we stopped looking for a pair. That was careless of me, yet I did not have thought you'd have stayed together this long. Where is he? Is he all right? Is he all right? "Oh, he's fine for now. In custody, of course. You care for him, then?" He stared at her with curiosity out of red eyes that were so strange to her, except in her own seldom-seen image. "He's my friend," Baron Zaya said. The words came in a tone that sounded dull and hopeless in her own ears. "Seamus, a general in the Imperial Army, said to have... Seamus, a general in the Imperial Army, said to have a friendship in the ear of Tiber Septim himself. Aye, you seem to have several unsuitable friends, if you'll forgive me saying so, my lady." As they talked, a bustle and flurry in the house had died away, although she could hear people, presumably the residents, whispering together not far off. The tall elf seated himself on a corner of the desk He seemed quite relaxed and prepared to stay a while. Several? What's going to happen to them? To me? As you know, this house belongs to the commander of the Imperial troops in this area. Baron Zaya gasped, and Seamus looked up sharply. You didn't know? You are rash even for 17. You must always know what it is you do. It's true. But the guild wouldn't. But the guild wouldn't. Baron Zaya was trembling. The Thieves Guild would have never attempted a mission that involved Imperial policies. No one dared oppose Tiber Septim, at least no one she knew of. I dare say it's unlikely that Theris had guild approval for this job. I wonder. Seamus examined the desk carefully, pulling out its drawers. He selected one, placed its contents on the desktop, and removed the false bottom. There was a folded sheet of paper inside. It seemed to be a map of some sort. Baron Zaya edged closer to see it. Seamus held it away from her, laughing. Rash indeed. He glanced over it, then folded and replaced it. You advised me to seek knowledge. So I did. Suddenly he seemed to be in high good humor. We must be going, my dear lady. He shepherded her to the door, down the stairs, and out into the night air. No one was about. Baron Zaya's eyes darted to the shadows. She wondered if she could outrun him or elude him somehow. You're not thinking of attempting to escape, are you? Don't you want to hear what my plans are for you first? He sounded a bit hurt. Yes. Perhaps you'd rather hear about your friends first. No. He looked pleased. It was the answer he wanted, but it was also the truth. While Baron Zaya was concerned for her friends, especially Straw, she was far more concerned for herself. I mean, she should be. You will take your rightful place as Queen of Mournhold. Her heart leapt. It was really true then. Seamus explained that this had been his and Tiber Septim's plan for her all along. That Mournhold, which had been under military rule for the dozen years since she had left, was to be returned gradually to citizen government under imperial guidance, of course, and as part of the imperial province of Morrowind. But why was I sent to Darkmoor? For safekeeping. Why did you run away? Baron Zaya shrugged. I saw no reason to stay. I should have been told. You would have been by now. I had in fact sent for you to be removed to the Imperial City to spend some time as part of the Emperor's household. As your destiny, it should have been obvious to you. Tiber Septim does not keep those he has no use for, and what else could you be that is of use to him? I know nothing of him or you. Then you know this. Tiber Septim rewards friend and foe alike according to their deserts. Whew. Baron Zaya chewed on that for a few moments. Straw has deserved well of me, and has never done anyone any harm. He is not a member of the Thieves Guild. He came along to protect me. He earns our keep by running errands, and Seamus waved her into silence. I know all about Straw, he said, and about Theris. So, what would you? Straw wants to be a little farm. If Straw wants a little farm, if I am to be rich, then I would give it to him. Very well, he should have it. And Theris? He betrayed me, Baron Zaya said in a low voice. Theris should have told her the risks of the job entailed. Further, he pushed her right into the foe's arms in an attempt to save himself. It's fucking true. Yes, and... well, he should be made to suffer for it, shouldn't he? That seems reasonable. What form should the suffering take? Baron Zaya balled her hands into a fist. She'd like to beat and claw at the Khajiit herself, but that didn't seem very queenly. A whipping. Would 20 stripes be too many, do you think? I don't want to do him any permanent injury. I shall arrange it. Baron Zaya spent 2 days in Seamus's apartment, during which she was kept very busy. There was a dark elf woman named Drellani? I'm gonna say Drellani, yeah. Who saw to her needs. Although she did not seem very to be very exactly she did not seem to be exactly a servant, as she took her meals with them, nor was she his wife. Drellani seemed amused when Bereziah asked about that. She simply said that she was in Seamus's employ and did whatever he asked of her. With Drellani's assistance, several fine gowns and pairs of shoes were ordered for her, plus a riding habit and boots. Riding habit, interesting. Along with other small necessities. Bereziah was given a room to herself. Seamus was out a great deal. She saw him at most meals, but he said little about himself or what he had been doing. Although he was cordial and polite, was always willing to converse on most subjects, and seemed interested in anything she had to say. Drellani was much the same. Bereziah found them pleasant enough, but hard to get to know. As Katisha would have put it, she felt an odd disappointment. These were the first dark elves with whom she'd associated closely. She had expected to feel comfortable with them, to feel at last that this was where she belonged. Instead, she found herself yearning for her Nord friends, Katisha and Straw. When Seamus told her that they were about to set out for the Imperial City on the morrow, she asked if she could say goodbye to her friends. Katisha, he asked. Well enough. I suppose I owe her something. She it was who led me to you by telling me of a lonely dark elf girl named Barry who needed elven friends. No. And sometimes dressed as a boy. She has no association with the Thieves Guild, and no one associated with the Thieves Guild seemed to know your true identity save Theris. That is well. I prefer your former guild membership not to be made public knowledge. Well, this book is kind of being sold by every vendor. You will speak of it to no one. It does not become an imperial. It does not become an imperial queen. True. No one knows but Straw and Theris. They won't tell anyone. No, they won't. He didn't know that Katisha knew then. Katisha knew then. Interesting. Straw came to their apartment the morning of their departure, and they were left alone in the parlor. Although Bereziah knew that the other elves were well within hearing, Straw looked drawn and pale. They hugged one another silently for a few moments. Straw's shoulders were shaking, and tears were rolling down his cheeks, but he said nothing. Bereziah tried to smile. So, we both get what we want. I am to be Queen of Mournhold, and you will be the king of your own farm. I'll write you. You must find a scribe so you can write me too. Straw shook his head sadly, and when Bereziah persisted, he opened his mouth and pointed inside. Making an inarticulate noise, his tongue was gone. Bereziah collapsed into a chair and wept noisily. Why? She demanded of Seamus when Straw had been ushered away. Why? Seamus shrugged. He knows too much of you. He could be dangerous. At least he's alive, and he won't need his tongue to farm. I hate you, Bereziah screamed at him, then leaned over and vomited on the floor. Jesus. She continued to revile him between the intermittent bouts of nausea. He listens stolidly for some time while Drellene cleaned up after her. Finally, he told her to cease or he would gag her for the journey. They stopped at Katisha's house. Seamus and Drellene did not dismount. All seemed normal, but Bereziah was frightened as she knocked on the door. Katisha answered her knock. She'd obviously been weeping, but she embraced her. Why are you crying? Bereziah said. For Theris, of course. You haven't heard? He's dead. He was caught stealing from one of the commandant's house. Poor fellow, but it was so foolish of him. Oh, Bereziah, he was drawn and quartered this very dawn by the commandant's office. Oh my God, drawn and quartered. I went. He asked for me. It was terrible. He suffered so before he died. I'll never forget it. I looked for you and Straw, but no one knew where you'd gone to. That's Seamus you're with, isn't it? You know, the moment I saw him, I thought this is the one for Baron Zaya, so I told him about you, you know. Oh, God. Yes, Baron Zaya said. Katisha, I love you, but please don't ever tell anyone else anything about me, ever. Swear you won't, especially not Seamus. And look after poor Straw for me, Katisha promised, puzzled but willing. Barry, it wasn't somehow because of me that Theris was caught. I never said anything about Theris to Seamus. Baron Zaya assured her that it wasn't, that an informer had been told of the Imperial Guard of Theris' plans, which was probably a lie, but Katisha badly needed some kind of comfort. Jesus. Oh, I'm glad of that. If I can be glad of anything, just know, I'd hate to think. But how could I have known? And Seamus is very handsome. You don't think? And charming. I don't know, Baron Zaya said. I haven't really thought about it. There hasn't been time. She explained about the being Queen of Mournhold and going to live in the Imperial City for a while. First. He was looking for me. I don't think he thinks of me as a woman after all. He said, I don't think he thinks of me as a woman after all. He said I didn't look like a boy, though. She added in the face of Katisha's incredulity. She knew that Baron Zaya evaluated every male she saw in terms of sexual desirability. I suppose it's a shock of finding out that I really am queen, she added. And Katisha agreed that must be something of a shock, although one there was no likelihood of her experiencing firsthand. I mean, it's true. Their party left Riften by the Great South Gate. Once through, Seamus tapped her on the shoulder and pointed back at the gate. I thought you might want to say goodbye to Theris too, he said. Baron Zaya stared briefly, but steadily, at the head impaled on a spike above the gate. The birds were at it, but the face was still recognizable. I think you will not hear me, she said. Let's be on our way, shall we? Seamus was clearly disappointed by our lack of reaction. You heard of this from Katisha? Of course. She attended the execution. Baron Zaya said casually, if he didn't know already, he'd find out soon enough. She was sure of that. Did she know Theris belonged to the guild? Everyone knew that. It's only lower-ranking members like me who are all supposed to keep their membership secret. The ranking officers are well known, but you know all that, don't you? She smiled archly at him. So, you told her who you were and whence you've come, but not about the guild. The guild membership was not my secret to tell. The other was. There is a difference. Besides, Katisha is a very honest person. Had I told her, it would have lessened me in her eyes. She was always after Theris to keep up a more honest line of work. I value her good opinion, and she also thought I'd be happier if I'd settle down with just one man friend. One of my own race. You, in fact. Isn't it odd how wishes come true sometimes, but not in the way you want them to? Yes, very odd. Something about the way he had said it made her think that she herself was one of his wishes that had become true in a way that wasn't altogether to his liking. I mean, chapter 1. So that was 4. On to 5. The Real Baron Zaya, Part 5. Baron Zaya felt the way. How long is this one? Buckle in, everybody. Go get hydrated. Get your water ready. It's time for Part 5. Baron Zaya felt the weight of sorrow for several days, but by the third day, out her spirits had begun to rise a bit. She found that she enjoyed being on the road again, although she missed Straw's companionship more than she would have thought. They were escorted by a troop of Red Guard knights, amen to that, with whom she felt comfortable, although these were much more disciplined than the guards of the merchant caravans. They were cordial but respectful towards her, despite her attempts to flirt with the men. Baron Zaya. Seamus scolded her privately, saying a queen must maintain a royal dignity at all times. You mean I've never to have any fun? Not with such as these. These are beneath you. Graciousness is to be desired in those in authority. Familiarity is not. You will remain chaste and modest while you are in the imperial city. Baronziah screwed up her face. I might as well go back to being at Blackmore. Elves are promiscuous by nature. Everyone says so. Everyone is wrong then. Some aren't. Some are, some aren't. The Emperor and I expect you to show both discrimination and discretion. Okay? Let me remind you that you will hold the throne of Mournhold, not by right of blood, but the sole pleasure of Tiber Septim. If he judges you unsuitable for your reign, your reign will end ere it begins. He requires intelligence, obedience, discretion, and total loyalty in all its appointees. And he favors chastity and modesty in women. I suggest you model your deportment after Drelani. God, I'm almost going to change her name. I think it's supposed to be, Leafer. Damn, that's another new word I've never seen. Be back in Blackmore, Baronziah said indignantly. I like how Blackmore is no longer one word, but has changed into black and more separated. That is not an option. If you are of no use to Tiber Septim, he will see to it that you are of no use to his enemies either. Seamus said coldly. If you would keep your head upon your shoulders, take warning. Let me add that power offers pleasures other than those of cardinally and low company. Whoa. He spoke of art, literature, drama, music, grand balls. Baronziah listened with interest, spurred by his threats. But after asked if she might continue her study of spellcasting while in the imperial city. Seamus seemed pleased and promised to arrange it. Pleased with this, she then said that she noted that the 3 of their knights were women, and asked if she might train a little in combat with them, just for the sake of exercise. Seamus looked less than pleased, but agreed she might, although only with the women. Oh my god. The late winter weather held fair but cold for their journey, so that they traveled quickly over the firm roads. On the last day, spring seemed to come at last, for there was a thaw, and the road grew sloppy underfoot, and everywhere one could faintly hear the sound of water trickling and dripping. They came to the great bridge that crossed to the imperial city at sunset. The rosy glow turned all the stark white marble buildings into a delicate pink. It all looked very new and grand and immaculate. The broad avenue led straight to the palace. There was a crowd of people of all sorts in the streets. Lights winked out in the shops and on in the inns as dusk fell and the stars came out one by one. Even the side streets were broad and brilliantly lit. And near the palace, the towers of the Grand Mages Guild, the Grand Mage Guild, reared to the east, while the westward stained glass windows of the temple glittered. Seamus had an apartment in the great house 2 blocks from the palace, past the temple of the One, he said, as they passed it, an ancient Nordic cult which Tiber Septim had revived. He said that Baronziah would be expected to become a member should she prove acceptable to the Emperor. Seamus's apartment was very grand, although little to Baronziah's liking. The walls and furnishings were stark white, relieved only by torches of bright gold. The floors of gleaming black marble. Damn, I'm having problems reading the punctuation. Baronziah's eyes ached for color and shadow. In the morning, Seamus and Dreleni escorted her to the imperial palace. Baron Zaya noted that everyone that met greeted Seamus with a differential respect. Differential respect, which some cases bordered on obsequiousence. I cannot pronounce that. Holy shit, that's the biggest word I've seen today. He took he took it quite for granted. She and Seamus were ushered directly into the imperial presence. Morning sun flooded the small room through a large window with tiny panes, washing over the breakfast table and the single man who sat there. Dark against the light, he leapt to his feet as they entered and hurried towards them. "Ah, Seamus, my friend, welcome. Thy return most gladly." His hand touched Seamus's shoulder briefly, fondly interrupting? Yeah. Interrupting the deep bow the elf had begun. Baron Zaya curtsied as Tiber Septon turned to her. "Baron Zaya, my naughty little runaway, how do you, child? Here, let me have a look at you. Why, Seamus, she's charming, absolutely charming. Why have you hidden her away for all these years? Is the light too much? Shall I draw the hangings? Yes, of course." He waved aside Seamus's protest and drew the curtains himself, not troubling to summon a servant. "You will pardon me for this discourtesy to my guests. I have much to think of, but that's scant excuse for inhospitality. Ah, pray join me. There's some excellent fruit from the Black Marsh." They settled themselves at the table. Baron Zaya was astonished. Tiber Septon was nothing like the grim gray giant warrior she pictured. He was only of middling height, half a head shorter than tall Seamus. Although he was well kit for his figure and lithe in movement, he had a winning smile, bright, indeed piercing blue eyes, and a full head of stark white hair above a lined, weathered face. He might have been any age from the 40 to 60. He pressed food and drink upon them, and repeated his question: why she had left her home, and her guardians been so unkind to her. He's asking if her guardians had been unkind to her. "No, Excellency," Baron Zaya replied. "In truth, no. Although I fancied so at the times." And Seamus had made up a lie for her. And Baron Zaya told it, although with misgivings. The stable boy, Straw, had convinced her that her guardians, unable to find a suitable husband for her, meant to sell her as a concubine in Rihad. And when a Red Guard had indeed come, she had panicked and fled with him. Tiber Septim seemed fascinated and listened raptly as she provided details of her life as the merchant caravan guard. Why 'tis like a ballad," he said. "By the one, I shall have the court bard set it to music. What a charming boy you must have made." Seamus said. Baron Zaya stopped in some confusion. He said, "Well, that I no longer look much like a boy. I have grown in the past few months." She lowered her gaze in what she hoped looked like a maid in modesty. "He is a very discerning fellow, is my friend Seamus. I know, I've been a very foolish girl. I must crave thy pardon and that of my kind guardians. I realized that some time ago, but I was too ashamed to go home, and I do long for Morrowind. My soul pines for my own country." Damn, there's still so much. Alright, right here. "My dear, you shall go home, I promise you, but I pray you remain with us a little longer." that you may prepare yourself for the stern task in with which I shall charge you. Baronziah gazed at him earnestly, heart beating hard. It was all working just as Seamus had said it would. She felt a warm flush of gratitude towards him and was careful to keep her attention focused on the Emperor. I am honored, Excellency, and wish most earnestly to serve you and this great empire you have forged in any way I can. It was the politic thing to say, but Baronziah really meant it. She was awed by the magnificence of the city and the discipline and order everywhere evident, and was excited at the prospect of being part of it all. Plus, she felt quite drawn to Tiber Septim. After a few days, Seamus left for Mournhold to take up his duties as the governor until Baronziah was ready to assume the throne, after which he would become her prime minister. Baronziah, with Dreleni was as chaperone, took up residence in a suite at the palace. Several tutors were provided for her. During this time, she became deeply interested in the magical arts, but she found the study of history and politics not all that to her taste. That's a real shame, especially history. History teaches so much. On occasion, she met with Tiber Septim in the palace gardens, and he would unfailingly inquire politely as to her progress and chide her, although with a smile over her disinterest in matters of state. However, he was always happy to instruct her on the fine points of magic, and he could make even history and politics seem interesting after all. They're people, child, not dry facts in a dusty book, he said, as her understanding broadened in their discussions. As her understanding broadened, their discussions became longer, deeper, and more frequent. He spoke to her of his vision of a united Tamriel, each race separate and distinct, but with shared ideals and goals, all contributing to the common well. It was supposed to be wealth, but well, I think maybe that is an old style word. This is very old-timey language style. Some things are universal, shared by all sentient folks of goodwill, he said. So the one teaches us. He must unite against the malice and the brutish, the miscreated, the orcs, trolls, goblins, and other worse creatures, not strive against one another. Damn, I guess orcs are treated as below human in this timeline. And something changes in Morrowind, right? Because you can be an orc in Morrowind and they're actually integrated into society. His blue eyes would light as he stared into his dream, and Baronziah was delighted just to sit and listen to him. If he drew close to her, the side of her body next to him would glow as if it were on fire. If their hands met, she would tingle all over as if his body were charged with a small shock spell. One day, quite unexpectedly, he took her face in his hands and kissed her gently on the mouth. Oh boy. See? This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm fucking talking about. Naughty letters to the queen of fucking Daggerfall, and he's making moves on Baronziah herself. Fucking naughty man. She drew back after a few moments, astonished by the violence of her feelings, and he apologized instantly. I don't mean to do that. It's just, you're so beautiful, my dear, so very beautiful. He was looking at her with the hopeless yearning in his face. She'd taken away tears streaming down her face. Are you angry with me? Talk to me. Baronziah shook her head. I could never be angry with you. I love you. I know it's wrong, but I can't help it. I have a wife, he said. She is a good and virtuous woman, and the mother of my children. I could never put her aside, yet there is nothing between us. No sharing of the spirit. She would have had me be other than what I am. I am the most powerful man in Tamriel, and, Baronziah, I think I'm the most lonely one of... oh, the most lonely one as well. Power, he said with contempt. I'd trade a godly share of it for youth and love if the gods would allow it. I wonder how many times he's practiced this speech and used it on poor suspecting women. But you are strong and vigorous and vital, and more than any man I'd ever known. He shook his head. Today, perhaps, yet I am less than I was yesterday, last year, 10 years ago. I feel the sting of my morality, and it is painful. If I can ease thy pain, let me do so. Baranziah moved towards him, hands outstretched. I would not take thy innocence from thee. I am not that innocent. How so? Tiber Septon's voice grated harshly. His brow knitted. Baranziah's mouth went dry. What had she done? There was straw, she faltered. I was lonely, too. Am lonely, and not so strong as you. She cast her eyes down in embarrassment. I am not worthy. No, not so, Baranziah. It cannot last for long. You have a duty in Mournhold. I must tend my empire. Shall we share what may and pray the one forgiveness for our frailty? Wow, and fade to black right there. What the fuck? So that's part 5. Wow. Part 6? You dance on the edge of a volcano, child. Hang on. Exit. Chapter 6. You dance on the... Let's read it from here. Oh, this is it? This is all there is? Okay. Chapter 6. You like to dance close to the fire, don't you? Sorry. You dance on the edge of a volcano, child. I guess that's more fitting for Morrowind, right? Because of the Red Mountain and all. Drulani scolded as Baranziah admired the emerald ring her lover had given her to celebrate their 1-month anniversary. How so? We make one another happy. We harm no one. Seamus bade me to be discriminate and discreet. Who better could I choose? And we've done most discreet, and he treats me as a daughter in public. Tiber Septon's naughty visits. I mean, it's naughty and nightly were made through a secret passage. He slavers over you like a dog his dinner. Have you not noticed the coolness of the Empress and her son towards you? Baranziah shrugged. Even before she and Septim had become lovers, she had no more from his family than bare civility. Threadbare civility. What matter? Is it Tiber who holds the power? It is Tiber who holds the power. Damn, first name basis. It is his son who holds the future. Do not hold his mother up to public scorn, I beg you. So that... Oh, hey, I have to right-click to continue. Okay, it's not scroll down or anything. I can help if it is the dry... What? I can help if it is that dry stick of a woman that cannot hold her husband's interest even in conversation at dinner. Damn. Have less to say in public, that is all I ask. She matters little, save that her children love her, and you do not want them as enemies. Tiber Septim has not long to live. Does not have long to live, I mean. Druleni amended quickly. At Baranziah's scowl, humans are all short-lived. Temporary as we elves stay, they come and go as the seasons do. But the families of their powerful live on for a time. You must be a family friend if you would see lasting profit from your relationship. I mean, she's not wrong. Wait, hang on. Doesn't Tiber Septim have like dragon's blood and shit in him? That's why like the Akatosh deity comes out and stuff later on, or Talos rather, not Akatosh. But doesn't he live like for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years? So I mean, it's still less than elves. Anyways, where did I leave off? Oh, blah 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 blah. Lasting profit from your relationship. Ah, how can I make you truly see? You who are so young and human bred as well, If you take care, you and Mournhold are like to live to see the fall of Septon's dynasty, if indeed he has founded one. As you have seen it rise, it is the way of human history. They ebb and flow like tides. Their cities and even their empires bloom like spring flowers, only to wither and die in the summer sun. Baronziah just laughed. She knew that rumors abounded about her and Tiber Septim. She enjoyed the attention, for all the save the Empress and her son seemed captivated by her. Bards sang of her dark beauty and her charming ways. She was in fashion and in love, and if it was temporary, well, what was not? She was happy for the first time she could remember. Each day filled with joy and pleasure, and the nights yet better. What is wrong with me? Baronziah lamented. Look, not one of my skirts fit. What's become of my waist? Oh no, am I getting fat? Baronziah regarded her thin arms and legs and her undeniably thickened waist in the mirror with displeasure. Uh-oh. Drulani shrugged. You appear to be with child, young as you are. Constant pairing with human has brought you early fertility. I see no choice but for you to speak with him about it. You are in his power. It would be best, I think, for you to go directly to Mournhold if he will agree, and bear the child there. Alone? Baronziah placed her hands on her swollen belly, tears forming in her eyes. Everything in her yearned to share the fruit of her love with her lover. He'll ne'er agree to that. He won't be parted from me now. You'll see. Druleni shook her gray head. Although she said no more, a look of sympathy and sorrow had replaced her usual cool scorn. That night, Baronziah told Tiber Septim of when it would come to her, when he came to her. Oh boy. With child? He looked shocked, stunned. You're sure of it? I was told elves do not bear so young. Baronziah smiled uneasily. How can I be sure? I'll fetch my healer. The healer, a high elf of middling years, confirmed that Baronziah was indeed pregnant, and such a thing had never before been known to happen. Oh God. It was a testimony to his excellency's potency, and the healer said, sycophantically. Tiber Septim snarled at him. This must not be. He said, undo it. Oh, I shouldn't be laughing, but holy shit. This right here is what's making me crack up, and fucking the turnaround right here. Sire, the healer gasped at him. I cannot. Of course you can, he snapped. I command you to do so. Baronziah, wide-eyed with sudden terror, sat up in bed. No, she screamed. No, what are you saying? My dear child, Tiber Septim sat down beside her with a winning smile. I am so sorry, truly, but this cannot be. Your child could be a threat to my son and his sons. I will put it no more plainly than that. It's fucking true. The child I bear is your child, she wailed. No. It is but a possibility, a might be, not yet gifted with a soul or quickened to life. I will not have it so. He gave the healer another hard stare, and the elf began to tremble. It is her child. Children are few among elves. No woman conceives more than 4, and that this is very rare. 2 is the allotted number. Some bear none, some only bear 1. If I take this from her, she may not conceive again. You told me she would not bear to me. I have little faith in your prognostications. Okay. Baronziah scrambled naked from her bed and ran for the door, not knowing where she was going. Only she could not stay. She never reached the door, for blackness took her. I'm shaking my head right now. Baronziah woke to pain and emptiness. Drulani was there to soothe her pain and clean the blood that pooled under her legs, but there was nothing to fill the emptiness. Tiber Septim sent gifts and flowers and came for short visits. Always well attended, Baron Zaya received these visits with pleasure, but he came no more at night, nor did she wish for him. After a month, when she was physically recovered, it was announced that Seamus had requested her to come to Mournhold earlier than planned, and that she would leave forthwith. She was given a splendid retinue, a wardrobe befitting a queen, and a ceremonial departure from the gates of the Imperial City. Damn. Yep, this is all the same. Oh, but black... Hey, hang on. No woman. See, the bottom portion of that wasn't fucking in there. You told me she would not bear me a little faith in your prognosis. Scrambled naked. Yeah, blackness took her. Maybe the next chapter starts with it. Chapter 7? Oh, I don't have 7. We got to go looking out for 7. All right. We have reached the end of the episode. Thank you all for sticking with me through this. We probably have another day or two of looking for books. But what we're going to do is we're going to leave here. We're going to go selling next episode probably. And we're going to go looking for The Real Baron Zaya Part 7. Because that's where we're at next. Then we'll read 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we'll read the biography of the Queen, Baron Zaya, Volume 1, 2, and 3. By Stem Gamboge or whatever. This is a wild fucking ride. I'm not going to lie. It's a wild fucking ride. But, yeah. Let's fucking call it here. I will catch you all later. Thank you for watching. Peace out.